It always feels like somebody's watching me. It's autumn. I knew it was. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Adam Ratliff with Adam's So Fun, and you are joining me for more of the Autumn the Fox quilt with the quiltable design, or a design available at Quiltable by A Bit Orange and all that stuff. So I'm using the design by A Bit Orange. I think I'm using version B. There's 3 versions. Available at Quiltable. Remember, at Quiltable, if you shop quiltable.com, ASF10, like Adam's So Fun, ASF10 will get you 10% off your total purchase, and it stacks on top of other discounts, so it's an additional 10% off. The quilt itself is legit kits. I'll link everything below because I always do that. And we're just continuing on. In our last episode, I realized that my glide foot was broke. Where's my glide foot? So I realized my glide foot was broke. It has a crack right here on the back. This is my class foot, so it was broke when I put it on. I don't know how I broke it. I think I might have dropped it, or in class, maybe someone was using it and tightened it too much. I don't know. It was broke, and it was doing this. And it was actually, well, let me see. It was shaking, and when I pushed it, it moved, and there shouldn't be any movement. It should be pretty tight. So I took that off and I thought, oh gosh, what am I going to do? You know, I do have the zippers on this, but I really wanted to get this done. So I thought of a plan, and that plan involved my little wrench. So the foot, your hopping foot can raise up and down. I never change mine because I never need to. I'll change my feet, take my feet on and off, but the foot itself, the height level can be adjusted. And the height you want that foot, when the needle is down, you want it like a business card, away from the plate, right? So when we come up close and you can actually see, I'll show you what I'm doing. But there's a nut right here at the top of your foot. If you loosen that nut, that foot can screw righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and every rotation that foot's going to move up, and every clockwise or counterclockwise, I think, goes up. Clockwise goes down. So if your foot is riding a little too high or a little too low, you can adjust the height of the foot. That's how you do it. Now, like I said, I'll show you when we get close what I'm talking about. So I raised my foot up one rotation and just stuck my original closed-toed foot. It's called the ruler foot. It's not the sure foot. It's the ruler foot. It comes with your machine on, and that's how I finished the eyes, and I did a few other pieces. So I came in today so we can finish this. And I was about to advance it, and I looked at the pattern, because remember, when you're doing these, you have to follow the directions. So I looked at the pattern and realized I have these 2 pieces off to the left and the right of the eye that are going to be the same color thread. So we're going to stitch those. I'm going to show you how I came back to it, lined everything up. Again, this is not a beginner design. I wish it was more user-friendly, because you're going to have to do little things. I realize I'm going to have to go in, I'm going to have to do some cropping and resizing and stuff. Very doable, but if you are like, oh, I've had my Pro Stitcher a week, I want to do this, you're probably not there yet, just being honest. Like, you can watch my videos, you can learn what those buttons do, but until you understand what those buttons are going to do and how to use them correctly, this might be one you wait. The other thing, you could set all this up in like Pro Stitcher Designer and do your layout. The one thing I don't like about that is that if you lay this whole thing out and you bring it in, you have a lot going on. There's a ton of designs. There's like 60, including the backgrounds, and that's gonna really bog down your Pro Stitcher. That tablet, it takes a lot of processing power to say like, okay, we're gonna move the screen and all this is moving. So I tend to not do that. So right now I have about 3, 6, 7. I have 7 designs in the original lineup that we did in the last video. I'm going to add another 6 so we can line up the sides, because I'm going to need some other pieces to kind of line everything up. We'll stitch out these 2 pieces on the left and right, and then I'll advance. I'm going to show you how I'm going to line this up. And I'm not going to record every step that I'm doing. I'm going to show you how I'm doing it, like in certain places. And if there's something that's like, oh gosh, I need to show them what I did here, I'll show you. But most of it's going to be kind of done, like we're doing this next step. So I'm not going to, it's going to take me 18 days to record this if I do that. And this whole next year for videos. So I'm going to come in, and if there's something that's really important, I'll show you, but I'll just kind of like take out snippets and little videos of me finishing this quilt, because I really want to get it done. But without further, like, subscribe, hit the bell, all the normal stuff. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Make sure you're notified when new videos drop. We're getting ready to do the 6K giveaway. Actually, we're in the middle of the 6K giveaway because this video is coming out next week. So make sure you go and watch that video so you see how you can enter. We're giving away some zipper leaders, not zipper leaders, but zippers for your leaders, a zipper loading system. The quick zip system. We're picking the winner the day after Christmas. Oh my gosh, this video is coming out on Christmas Eve. Nobody's going to watch it, but whatever. That's what's happening. So we're picking the winner. No, we're picking the winner Christmas Day, so you might be too late if you don't watch this on time. But I did post that video on Monday, and if you had the bell on and you get your notifications, you would have known. So that's happening. Follow me on social media, Adam's So Fun with the SEW, and Facebook and Instagram, where a lot of other things happen that don't always make it into the videos. But without further ado, let's go jump over to Autumn the Fox and keep going in our process. All right, so first thing first, what I was talking about is there's a little nut right here. And you have your wrench, loosen that nut, and then your foot itself will just turn around, and you can go clockwise or counterclockwise to raise or lower that foot. I have the Infinity, so my hopping bar is in the back. If you have your Amara or Forte or any of the other ones except for the Moxie or the Infinity, your hopping bar is right here, so it would have been easier to show you. But yeah, so it's the nut right above your foot, and that's how to raise and lower your foot. So I have my quilt. I haven't moved it at all. I'm coming up to my screen. And the first thing I need to do, is open my workspace, because I saved my workspace before I ended. So this is basically what I stitched out, other than these boxes. I needed these boxes here for when I advance, so that's why they're there, but I have not stitched those out yet. If I look at our guide, you can see over on the left, I have 27 and 21, and on the right, I have 30 and 22. I want to stitch those out before I advance. They're the same color, and they fit in my throat right now. So we're going to add those two pieces, but I'm also going to need this number 16 and number 19 to help line everything up, okay? So let's go, and I'm going to file design open. And, I think I had already opened these, so let's see if they're over here. So I need 16, design 19, there's our backgrounds, 22, 30, 27, and was it 21? And 17. Nope, I didn't need 17. Close selected. I think these are all of them. So this one's going to come over here. This one's going to be on this side. Or this one's on, oh, I opened the same one twice. If you open something you don't want, select the design you want, close, selected. I believe this one is this side. That one is that side. This one I know is over here, and this one's over here. All right, so there's my designs. I am going to kind of just drop these out of the way. I know I opened them, but I'm just moving them out of the way because the first thing, I have the designs open, but see where my face is here and my crosshairs are right there. If I look at my quilt top, my needle is right. I was pointing at the screen. My needle's right in the middle of my face. If I look at the screen, not in the same place. So this is where we need to reposition. We need to move the design. We open that workspace. It has all those designs, but the workspace opened according to our new quilt, our new Pro Stitcher universe. So I'm going to move my design to the correct spot in my universe. So when we're working in Pro Stitcher, remember, we want to bring everything to us to work easier than having to go try to pick it up. I'm not going to move my machine and move my crosshairs to the design. I'm just going to move the design to me to make it easier. So if I tap the design and select it, and I want everything, I'm just going to tap the screen and drag and drop it. And I'm just moving it close to my crosshairs because I'm going to use a point in this design to help me position this correctly. And that point I'm going to use is this little one right here in the very center. So I'm going to hit zoom and zoom into that point because that's a really sharp point right in the middle of my quilt. Now I will move my crosshairs to it. And if you want to be really persnickety, you can zoom in a lot. Like, so this is me barely moving the machine. Like, I shook it. And now when I get it to where I want, over here on the side, I'm going to tap drag. It turns green, turns to drop. Now I'm not going to look at the screen anymore. I picked up that point. Now I'm going to the quilt top. And this is that center design. And this is that center point right here. So now I'm going to move my laser light right to that point. And because I had drag on, when I move my crosshairs back up, you're not going to be able to see anything because I'm zoomed in really far. But when I hit the little house, the bottom house, and I can zoom into this, but that point is now in the same spot. We're here, and it corresponds to the same spot right there. So now I'm going to hit drop, and it turns back into drag. And that's how you reposition if you decide to leave for the night and not want to stitch the whole thing out. Or your foot breaks and you have to come up with a better plan. So now all of this is in place. We're good there. Next thing, I hit my house, and we're going to work on the right side first. So, oops, I didn't want that. I'm going to have to hit select. I always forget to do that. And I'm just going to kind of drag these pieces over here. We're going to use them to line up in a second, but I'm going to drag them close and then zoom in. And I'm going to move the machine and move you and everything over to where we're going to be working. So those pieces correspond with like this cheek area right here. So we want to put them in. The first thing we're going to have to do is see how things line up. So up here, these are kind of nice designs to have here because these are going to be easily cropped, and we're going to have to crop them. It's just going to happen. So these are the only two I'm going to stitch, but I need this top piece because this top piece fits into this kind of connector perfectly. So we're going to zoom, and we're going to do that step first. And let me see if I can come closer to you. It should be fine. You should be able to see the screen, and we're not working on the quilt yet, so we're going to do everything in our screen. I will select my design. I don't want this. I want my, I'm going to call it a fingerprint. I'm going to hit drag, and I always do this by moving the machine and not trying to use my finger. I feel like moving the machine is just a lot more accurate. And we're going to line these up. Do they have to be exactly perfect? No. Pretty good. You're not going to be able to see because we're using the same color thread and such. So if I scroll down, you can see that all of that's going to line up. And see how everything lines up really nice? Now, one thing we're going to notice is this stop point. And if we look at the next design, which is this one, this has a start point at the beginning here. This one is a stop point. So we need those to lay right on top of each other. So how are we going to do that? I am going to move my crosshairs to this stop point. So there we are. And it's far away. Oops. So now my crosshairs are on that stop point. I'm going to zoom in to be really close. I want to be very precise. Because we're about to try to line these two lines up. Again, these are little tiny movements to get it right where it needs to be. And it's right on a gear, so like you're moving those gears together, and it's right where it's gonna like fall on one side or the other. So what I'm going to do is hit my house, my bottom house. I will select the design I'm about to move, because I'm about to move this one to line it up with that one. I will zoom back in. And now I have that other design selected, so that's the one that's about to get moved. I'm going to go to my modify, reposition, and I'm going to use start point, and I'm going to have to use two hands, because I'm going to move my machine until my crosshairs are right at that end point, and hit start. And now it's lined them up perfectly for me. I can zoom in and see how it's off just a tad? I can move this and nudge this, but look how far that went. This is going 0.01 of an inch. Look how far that goes over. This is nothing. That is not noticeable. It's one of those connections that's not going to be noticeable. So now I have all of this section set up. We'll zoom back in so we can see. So everything there, perfect. Now this piece, I think I grabbed the wrong one actually. This one is number 20, no, this is 27, and I think I need 30. Correct, I just went back to look. So this is the piece that actually goes over here. And I'm gonna move these over here just so my screen doesn't get so zoomed out when I hit the house. There we go. Zoom. So now this piece is gonna live up in here. So again, I'm gonna bring my machine close to me because I'm just working on my screen right now, and I don't want my arms to be fully extended. I wanna be relaxed and be able to kind of do all this without having to worry about, not being comfortable. So I'm going to pick that design. Oops, there we go. Drag. And it's going to fit up here, or it should fit up here. Now, it's going to fit perfect, assuming that everything was lined up exactly where it's supposed to be. Like that your eyes are in the right exact spot and everything. The problem with that is there's no placement. There's nothing to place those eyes that say this is the exact spot that those eyes are supposed to be. So we have to kind of figure out how everything should fit in ourselves. So mine doesn't fit. Mine, I liked my eye placement, but this isn't going to fit because see how it's larger? So this is where I'm saying these are going to be a little more like advanced level pro stitcher because we need these things to line up. You don't want it to all over stitch and everything. So one of the things we can do, I'm going to hit drag and drop again. I can drag this over. So this side lines up. And let me see if we go down a little bit. And it's just, remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. So this side lines up. It's going to cut into this piece a little bit. But again, that's okay because we have ways around that. So now we have everything lined up. Some things are overlapping a little bit, but that's okay. Now we're going to go down and look at our quilt. And really, all of this stuff is supposed to be happening in these lighter pieces. All this darker piece, according to the quilt plan. So if we look at the darker piece over in the quilt plan, it's all different designs. So I don't want to stitch in any of those designs. I'm going to stitch all the light. I have a different color thread that I'm using over here too. So we're going to use our crop tools and crop these areas to fit. So we're cropping over on the right side. So if I come here, I need to look at that one more time. And that's the beauty of having this. You get to reference your stitch out guide as much as you need. There's nothing that says you can't. So the straight lines should come from here and then go up. So that's what I'm going to come in and do. I'm going to create, oops, I forgot to hit drop. I'm a noob mistake. So I hadn't hit drop, so I moved that design with me. So now I'm going to go back and put it back. This is like the 5th time I've done it this morning. Hit drop. That's kind of an important thing. So now I'm going to my area tab because I need to create an area around those designs that I'm about to stitch. So let me come down here and we'll show you what I'm doing down here. And I'm using multi-point. So I'm going to multi-point right here. Come up, and I always do a few multi-points up my design. I'm okay with that. I'll multi-point as much as I need. There's nothing that says I can't put 100 multi-points in. I mean, I could put 1,000 if I wanted to. Now we're just doing the lower design, so I'm going to shoot over here and make sure that's how it goes. Yep. So this is my outline. And you do not have to put that final one in. I just did it because I wanted to. And let's go up. Let's look at this. So if I look at this, ideally these straight line designs are working in this area that I'm using. So what I'm going to do is, let's zoom in on this. I want to see if these will fit, because I can crop out this design. I kind of like this space here, and this is where you get to pick. Do you want to crop more of these boxes, or do you want to crop more of this? How do you want things to line up? So if I pick these two designs, my two straight line designs, and I hit drag, and I move them, they fit in that area pretty nicely. So I might move them over like this. I'm going to hit drop. And now if this fits, I don't have to edit those designs at all. These are the designs that I'm going to have to edit, the blocks. So if I come to this block and I come to my modify tab and I crop inside my square and I close my edges, I'm going to baseline this. I don't know why it's not letting me baseline, because look, it's not letting me baseline. Sometimes it does that. I have no clue. Let's see. If I come here and I say reposition to the right and to the left, well, that's not letting me baseline either. Weird. Let me see if I can rotate. Sometimes if I rotate it, yeah, baseline's not coming up. Computers. So ideally, you're going to baseline this. If it lets you baseline it, baseline it. This one's not. And let's see, what's the other thing going on here? I'm not going to worry about cropping this big piece yet. I'll do that when I'm actually getting ready to stitch, because I'm only going to stitch this bottom section and these little pieces here. So let's see, let's stitch those two out, because I like how these are sitting and it's not letting me baseline for some reason. So I can baseline them together. That might work. Actually, let's do that. I'm going to baseline them because I'm going to stitch them. So I want them to be baselined. Let's see, my merged group. I believe, I don't see a jump. Oh, there's my jump. So my endpoint's going to be here. It's going to jump to there. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to stitch this real quick. We'll be right back. All right, so now these two pieces are done, and we will jump over to the other side. I saved this as a workspace just in case. I'm going to save a lot of workspaces in doing this because things are in certain places and I need them to stay there. And now we stitch these out, so I have points of reference. So if I save this workspace, I can always get everything back to where it was. So we're going to go work on the left side now. So let's zoom in. I'm going to clear that area because we don't need that area anymore. And if I look at the roadmap for this next section, we're looking at this. We're working. We're going to add 16, 21, and 27. The only real connector is this corner up here, which is rolled up. It's under the bar. I can't get to that. But we do have this corner and we have this point, and kind of these seams right here. So we're going to create this area, set those line designs in, and kind of do the same thing we did on the last one. So let me go. I'm in my area tab, and we're going to multi-point. And we need to multi-point this kind of area right here. So I'm just going to come down. And I'm doing the same exact thing I did before. Just creating my area around. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not stitching the lines up here. So I'm going to shoot over. Like, I'll come up a little bit, but then I'm just going to shoot over. Because really, we're trying to pick up this corner. And that will close off at the end. So now when I look up here at my screen, just a little bit, here's my area. So I'm going to select my one piece and drop that one. We're going to bring this one and zoom into my piece. Because we actually have the lines drawn, we can put this piece in first. So I'm going to hit drag, and remember, just like the last one, move my machine until things line up. And this one should line up right there. So already I see that this design is going to be too big because it's going into that the other area, the other seam, the other color, and I don't want that. So I can easily hit drop. And before I do anything else, because everything else lines up, modify crop. I want to crop the outside and close my edges. Baseline. And now I have, ooh, look what it did there. I'm going to undo that crop. Oh, that'll work. Because I didn't realize my start was there. Actually, that'll work fine. So we're going to go back. Crop. I thought my start point was up here, but it's on the next piece. So I'm going to close outside edges, baseline. Because this one wants to be baseline. Now, I can select, picking my select over here, because I always forget to do that. Tap on my blocks. These are going to nest up in here. And just like I did on the last one, I'm going to use my drag and drop. I'm going to line up the eye side and be able to crop the other side. That looks good. We're going to crop inside, edges, and baseline that. So now I have those pieces. They're done. Those are the two that we want to stitch out. So it does get easier when you understand what you're doing. We're not going to worry about cropping this one, just like the other side. We didn't worry about it. But we do want to line this piece up. Oops, I'm still on zoom. Select. We do want to line this block up. Oops. I'm just selecting a lot of stuff. It picked up a group, and I don't want that. There we go. And I'm going to zoom in here. So we can see that these two lines match up with these two lines. We need to get this start point, that start point right here. So if I move up and get my crosshairs, just like we did on the last one, I put my crosshairs right here and I modify, reposition, start point in my sidebar. And you can see how to use these reposition tools if you watch Plane and Pro Stitcher Reposition. I go through all of these buttons, all of the modify functions in my Plane and Pro Stitcher series. So if you haven't checked them out, you should. Lots of great information. I'm going to zoom in and see how they're off just a little bit. I'm going to hit that nudge. And again, it's nudging so small, 0.01 of an inch, not noticeable. I'm going to put it back to where it was. Actually, do I like it there? We're going to leave it right here. And now we have these two pieces. I will, oops, select, and I want this piece. I'm going to select multiple and that one. And we're going to stitch these two out. I'm going to zoom in. Again, you don't have to baseline them together. It is what it is. It's not going to matter really. But if I change the stitch out, so it's going to stitch the lines and then it's going to stitch these. But if I have it stitch in the opposite order, this jump is so small, I can just kind of stitch that myself. Oops. So let's see, I'm going to change the stitch out order. Why isn't it moving? There we go. There we are. So start here, stitch up, in there, start there, stitch in these, and then end down there. So, turn that off. Pro Stitcher run, get my stuff and run it. We'll see you back here in a second. All right, so now that I have all of this kind of row with what I'm going to stitch those colors, I'm gonna start going my way up to just finish it up towards the top, and then I'll come back to here, line everything up. So I'm going to advance this, show you again how to reposition things to get them to where they need to be, and then that's when I'm just gonna start finishing this and show you only important things. So we'll see you here in a second. All right, so we have the top advanced. I have it advanced. I have my side little pin grips on, so if I were using rulers, even though I'm not, I could use them easily. I can see the top of the stitching, and most importantly, let me tighten this so I can move my machine. The next designs are gonna come right into these points. So I move my machine down to make sure I can get my machine lower than these points, because this is gonna be the lowest point that I'm gonna stitch. So now I'm going to look at the screen, and this is all about repositioning. We have to reposition this design to work with what's in our throat now. Just like I did on the last time, I used this bottom point. I'm gonna use the top point on that same design. So let me see. I know I can get to that top point because how everything's positioned. So I'm gonna move my crosshairs to that top point, zoom in, get my crosshairs right on that point, hit drag. Oh, I have to select everything. I want to select everything. I want everything in my screen. So I'm going to hit this button, which is select all. It picks up every piece. Now I'm going to hit drag, and I will move it down until, oops, I just hit a real thick seam. Let me show you where I'm going to move it to. I'm moving it to right here. So I'm going to move it down and stick my laser light right on that point and back up on my screen. I will hit drop. And now I've set up my design and moved everything to my new throat space. Next thing I'm going to check, I have an infinity, so I tend to be able to do a lot more space than like the Amara does. But I'm going to move my machine all the way back and make sure that I have enough space, that I've moved everything down, that I move everything, the quilt, or the advance the quilt top far enough that I can stitch these designs and not hit anything. Very important part. I always check this. I don't want to hit any bars. Raise your hand if you've hit a bar. Everybody has raised their hand. So now I'll just go through. I'm going to go and crop my sides just like I did. I'll add this kind of forehead piece that is one of my favorite things. And again, just continue working. I'll get everything in this throat space that I can do. Let me tilt you down. I'll stitch everything inside this throat space that I can do. I think part of this and those squares and everything until I need to advance up again and pick up the ears and do the top. And once I get all of this done, I will probably, because I'm using the same color thread, so all of these are going to be the same color thread until I get to the ears, and I will switch those threads out and do those while they're in my throat space. But once I get everything done, I'll probably come down. I'm not going to worry, like the green over there, I'm not going to worry about that until the end. That's all the background stuff. I'll do all that color, the green and the gray on the outside later. I'm just going to do the fox first, and then I'll fill in those backgrounds. So that's the process. If there's anything else that you need to see, I will stop and let you know, but I'm just going to continue on. All right, everyone, we are getting so close to the end, or by we, I am getting so close to the end. I'm just doing the final outline straight line stitches. I'm pointing at the quilt and you're looking at the thing. So if I look down at my quilt top, this outside kind of detail is just straight lines. Very modern. I love it. If we look to the right, we'll look to the right. This is the bottom of the face. Everything's done. I've added all the details. So anything that wasn't background has been stitched. All the 47 designs or however many. I did use, let's see, there's a dark variegated color here. I think I've used 1, 2, 3, 4. There's going to be 6 colors of variegated thread that I used throughout this. I think that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So I have this lighter variegated. I have 2 tones of the kind of orangey variegated thread. I used a dark and I used a light. I don't even know if you can see those. Not very good. I used a dark and a light. So anywhere like the lighter colors were, I used the lighter variegated thread. Over here where we get the darker colors, the more purples, maroons, burnt oranges, and this kind of black and brown, I used the darker one that included some blacks and browns in it. It has some greens and stuff. I think it turned out and looks really cool. You can see the stitching a little bit in this area, but whenever I actually get it off and take some photos, you'll be able to see it. And it just, the variegated thread adds so much more depth to your stitching. In the greens, the top of this quilt, the background is pretty bright with a lot of bright greens. In the bottom, it's more muted with some grays and some darker browns, just more muted greens and taupes. So I'm using a darker green variegated on the bottom, but I did the same thing. I did a lighter, brighter green variegated for the top, and then I can't show you the one on the bottom because I'm stitching with it. But I told you I would come back if there was something specific that I wanted to show you, and I found something specific that I want to show you. And that comes with this background. Oh, now you're looking at the quilt, and we need to make the screen. So working through this, I mean, this is custom quilting. You are definitely custom quilting. It's not like the Dream Big panel. You can't just make an area and place it. Some of the things you have to manipulate a bit. A few of them I had to make a little larger and crop them. That's fine. That's why you see this area here. I'm going to end up cropping it to fit in that area after I get everything lined up. A few times I made it a little bit bigger and then cropped it so I know it would fit perfect. Because they do all have, let me zoom in, they do all have edges. So things need to fit kind of correctly. So if you have to crop it, that's fine. It's still getting stitched, but I would rather crop at the edges and make it a little bit bigger than have it too small for the design. But this is definitely custom quilting. It's not something that you're just going to plug and play. So keep that in mind if you're going to do one of these. These designs, so this is design C, and I think I can bring you close so we can actually see what's going on. So the top one, I've already stitched it. This is C, and how I've been doing it, I'd stitch C, add D, and then most of the time, if you watch my videos, I drag and drop, and I just will advance the quilt and then drag and move the stuff. With these, I've been doing needle down. Needle down advancing is more specific. It's going to hold the shape better. It's going to be more precise. So I will show you how I did that. Whenever I advance this, I'll come back and turn the camera on. But where C and D met, this is an edited version of D. Let me open the D design and put this, I'm on Zoom, right there. And I'm going to zoom into the two of these. And what you'll notice is that this D design, so let me select, so this is the one I stitched, and this is the original version of it. What you'll notice is the top, there's a line missing. So do you see where the start point right here is on the left? And over here it's on the right. I took this whole line out. And why I did that was I was lining things up, and I noticed that this first line is meant to line up right on the previous line. So I'm going to use my finger and not get it very good because I have fat fingers. But the designs are going to line up like so. And if I were to stitch that out, just like it's done, I'm going to have one row that's overstitched. And if I didn't place that exactly perfect, you're going to tell that there's an extra row there. So what I did is I went to my Pro Stitcher tab. I have my D design selected. Oh, I need to turn these back on. I went to New Start End. On my start, I want to move my start point from here because I don't want to restitch that first line. So I just hit the arrow down and I moved over. You can hit down twice. I ended up hitting down twice. I moved that start point, then I went to Modify, Crop, and over here on our sidebar we have a Start End button. I'm going to hit Start End, and it's going to cut anything that is not between the start point and the end point. And now I took out that first row. So I used that first row for placement, and then I just took it off. I'm going to close this design so I don't get confused having two of them. So now I'm lining up. There's two designs down here. Let's see, C, D. I've stitched C, I've stitched D. Now I have to stitch in E and F. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'll pick it. I'll zoom in. And I'm going to get these as close as they can. I'm looking for that spacing of the lines. And a few of these I had to rotate just a little bit. So, so let's see. It was C, D. This E looks good. But again, I want to take out that first line. So modify, or Pro Stitcher. Move my start point. Modify, crop start and end, baseline. We always baseline after a crop. Now, I'm also outside of my area, so I'm going to crop outside, close the edges, and baseline one more time. So I just baseline that design two times. I cropped it twice, so I baselined it twice. I'll scroll this down, and we're going to do the same thing with my F design. I'm going to select it. You'll notice, oops, I don't want to select everything, so I'm just going to select F. You'll notice that that line's off a little bit, and that's because I've had to rotate a few of these. So I'm going to hit drag, and I'm going to drag it up, because again, we can crop it. And I would, let's see, rotate, and I'm going to custom rotate this. I don't want to go a ton. Like, that is not exactly perfect. Oh, there we go. So to me, that looks good. So this is what I need to like keep an eye on though, because all of these have to match up on that next one. So I'm going to be really careful to make those match up. I'm not resizing this. I'm only going to maybe rotate a little bit. And now I can come up here. Let's see, I'm going to drop it. Pro Stitcher, move my start point, modify, crop, start and end, baseline. And then I also want to crop the outside and close the edges and baseline. And now I'm free to stitch those out. The other designs that are coming in here, they're not going to fit. So I'm going to stitch this out first, and then I'll go in and make sure everything lines up with those other designs. But when I advance this, I will show you how I advance. So I'll be right back. So we have stitched. You can tell everything's golden. So now I'm ready to advance. So what I'm going to do is look where my most northern point of my next design is going to be. And that's going to be right here, basically where it stopped. So I'm going to move my machine to this place. It doesn't have to be a specific spot. I'm just moving it somewhere near there, as long as my needle is higher up, because I'm going to go all the way to the back bar. My needle is down. So now, ooh, I just pulled something in my finger. That was weird. I'm going to hit drag. And now everything that I do is going to move that design, because the machine is going to move. So I'm going to go take my side clamps off and advance my quilt. Now my quilt is advanced, but I'm not done. I have to get my side clamps on before I hit drop. All right, now my quilt is advanced, my side clamps are on. Normally, this is where I would go and I would drop everything. I'm not gonna hit drop yet because I still have basting stitches. Oops. I still have all these basting stitches. So I'm gonna pull these basting stitches out in those areas that I'm gonna stitch. And that's gonna involve me moving the quilt, not moving the quilt, but like I'm physically touching the quilt and stuff. I wanna make sure that it is ready. Like if everything was lined up and I was ready to push start, I'm going to that spot before I hit drop. So my needle's staying in, my machine's staying in, or my needle's staying down, my machine's staying in. And as soon as I get this stuff taken out, then I'm gonna push drop. The other thing that I just noticed that I did, and I can't move the machine or I'd show you up close, is I only picked up one piece of the design. Usually I like to move everything. I only need this one piece, so it's going to be okay. All the other pieces I can actually delete off, because this is what I'm referencing down on the quilt still, because I have all of those lines that I'm going to have to meet up. But usually I do like to hit select all and move the whole thing. But I am going to go remove these stitches and then line everything up and continue stitching. But that is how I'm advancing while I'm doing this, at least, especially this outside border. A lot of the other things I didn't have to do that. Say for instance this, let me turn you this way. Kind of this whole section, when I did these circles here, I just made the area around the nose, placed the design. When I did the nose, I made the area on the inside of the nose, placed the design. Right here, this like little rosette, did my area, placed the design. Did my area here, placed the design. Did the area around this big block, placed the design. So for the most part, I didn't need anything other than the top of the head, like going up. I had places that I really need to use one piece to line up the other, but down here I had points of reference that made it much easier to place those designs in. So I'm gonna go finish this. And here we have it, everyone. Autumn the Fox. She is done. She is looking stunning and gorgeous and beautiful and fantastic and all of those keywords that we like. The texture, amazing. Oh my gosh, there is so much texture in this quilt that it just, pieces just pop. The eyes pop out at you when you can see the texture up close because how they're stitched. I love a straight line, you know that about me. So this background border, this is the version, I think it's version B. And the different versions, there's an A, B, and C. They change the background. So I love this. Like I said, there's 6 different colors of thread. So there's a lighter variegated here and a darker variegated here. And then I've used black and white and gray, 2 greens. And this is what I'm talking about, how the brighter greens are hanging up top. And then the darker greens and grays are at the bottom. So I used the darker one there. I just think it turned out fantastic. I am so happy the way it turned out. A bit orange, thank you so much for a great design. Quiltable, thank you for also selling the design. Remember, shopping at Quiltable, ASF 10 will get you 10% off on top of all of your other discounts that you get. So it's a stackable discount. What are some other things? I don't know. I just am I'm excited that it's done. And I'm excited I was able to finish it with my little glide foot issue. But I just think it looks fantastic. I'm excited to send it back to its home, but I did want to share it off. It's sitting on my new hanging rack. But yeah, so this is Autumn the Fox. Thank you for watching. Always, like always, follow me on social media, Adam's So Fun with an SEW on Facebook and Instagram. And like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you're notified when new videos launch. If you haven't yet, today is Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas Eve. Don't forget to jump over to the 6K giveaway. I'm going to draw 4 winners tomorrow night, the 25th that's right, yeah? Days disappear. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Pacific, I'm going to pick 4 winners, and then I will announce them on Sunday, but I'll also tag them in something on Saturday. You have to reach out to me, but all of the details are on that. We're giving away some zippers for your long arm, for your loading system. So this is it, Autumn the Fox. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you in the next video, everyone. Merry Christmas.